All right, joining me right now, Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, a Democrat from Illinois who serves on the House Intelligence Committee. Good to see you, Congressman.
Same here. Thank you.
So what are your thoughts on what he had to say and what President Zelensky's posture is?
Well, I think on the one hand, I'm glad that they are showing restraint and they're not giving in to what appear to be unprovoked escalations by the separatists, perhaps directed by the Russians. On the other hand, they have to be ready for an attack. And it appears to be imminent, and they have to be ready to defend themselves. And of course, the United States will support them.
And then listen to what the president had to say to the idea of this threat.
It's important for all our partners and friends not to agree about anything behind our back. And I do believe in our partnership, and I do believe that this is the case. I had very important meetings today with the leaders of different countries, and still more to go. And I would like you to hear, to see, to ask questions and get the answers, to understand the level of resilience of our country, that we're not panicking. We are very consistent, that we are not responding to any provocations.
So he also said he's very confident about his military, and you heard him just now say, too, that he doesn't want his allies to agree to anything behind his back. Do you believe that's direct messaging to the U.S. and NATO allies?
Sure. And I don't think there's any intention to somehow concede his sovereignty or make decisions on his behalf. At the same time, I do think that the President Biden is absolutely correct to warn of an imminent attack against Kyiv and the country. Kyiv is the size of Chicago. The area that I represent is a very large area in Ukraine, and it would behoove everyone to prepare for this attack, as well as for Americans to get out of Ukraine. I think it's also good that the president exposed the intelligence that he has to basically wrong foot President Putin, to get him thinking that we know more about what's to come, and perhaps to get him to hesitate and give a moment for diplomatic solutions to potentially work. I think that the Russian leader might be engaging in a miscalculation, in the sense that he might think that, this Ukrainian adventure might end in a matter of weeks or perhaps months, when it actually could be another Soviet-style occupation of Afghanistan that did not go well for them. The Ukrainian troops currently are outnumbered, but there are about 7 million men of military age in Ukraine, many of whom would join the fight in an insurgency. And I'm pleased to have introduced legislation with my Republican colleagues on the Intelligence Committee to prepare to support that insurgency as well. And so we need diplomacy to work right now, but at the same time be prepared for anything.
President Zelensky also said in this interview with CNN's Christian Amanpour that potential sanctions against Russia need to be happening now. And we heard the vice president, while also in Munich, say that if there's an invasion by Russia, then there will be severe consequences in the form of sanctions. Does the Ukrainian president have a point? It's not much of a deterrent to allow Russia to invade and then impose sanctions. He said in that interview it should come first, before an invasion. Do you agree?
Well, I respectfully disagree in this sense, which is that if you trigger the sanctions right now, it gives less incentive for the Russians to potentially do the right thing and not invade. We want them to have an incentive to basically find a diplomatic solution with the West. And so putting in sanctions right now would probably be viewed as escalatory and might provoke an invasion.
President Zelensky also said today that he wants more security guarantees from Europe and NATO. So what more can be offered that hasn't already?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's exactly getting at. What we know is that we are providing both lethal and non-lethal assistance in terms of military assistance to the Ukrainians. We're also trying to provide economic assistance, and we're working with our NATO allies to make sure that the borders are secure in those countries as well. If there's anything else that he seeks, I'm sure that he's communicating that. But at the same time, we are not going to deploy American troops in Ukraine. I think the president has made that very clear, and nor should we, and the American people don't want that. And I think it would be escalatory again.
And what's your response to the White House saying that President Biden went off script, when he said that he is convinced that Vladimir Putin has decided to invade Ukraine? What is the potential gain for the president to say that?
I think that it's important for the president to kind of lay it out there and basically make it clear to everybody, including our friends, Americans in Ukraine, as well as to the Russian leader, that we know what they're up to, and also to get him thinking that we might know more than what he thinks we know, including about subsequent military hostilities. The Russians are constantly trying to do false flag operations. They have something called Maskarova as a doctrine, which means using deception in their military operations. And so exposing that helps us to get them to hesitate. And hopefully that hesitation also leads to a different calculation about whether a diplomatic solution is more optimal for the Russians.
Do you remain optimistic that diplomacy is still an option, or are we just simply past that point? Yes, why?
No, I still think that diplomacy is an option. I don't think the Russians are going to initiate hostilities during the Olympics, which last for at least another couple days. And so we have a very small window to basically try to find that off-ramp. Perhaps with regard to beginning a new round of talks on arms control agreements that the Russians sought with the Trump administration that had been declined by the previous administration. We can also talk about military exercises and the positioning of missiles and other armaments near the borders of Russia. Those are all fair game, but we are not going to decide matters for the Ukrainian people as to who they are going to partner with, nor are we going to close the open door policy that NATO has.
All right, Congressman Krishnamoorthi, always good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Frederica.